Welcome to Tech Bytes and News, your daily roundup of articles featured in Hacker News. Today we're diving into the world of in-browser analytics and how Motif Analytics is using some pretty cool tech to make it happen. We're talking DuckDB WASM, Apache Arrow, and web workers. Exciting stuff!
In-browser analytics, huh? Sounds ambitious. What's the big idea behind doing all this processing locally instead of on a server?
Well, the author mentions that it allows users to experiment with their tool, Motif, without needing to commit to a cloud-based solution. It's all about that instant gratification and ease of access, you know? Plus, it's a great way to showcase the capabilities of the platform.
I see, so it's a user acquisition strategy as well. Makes sense. But let's get technical. What exactly are DuckDB WASM, Apache Arrow, and web workers, and how do they fit together?
Okay, so think of it this way. Web workers are like having multiple little JavaScript robots working in parallel in the browser. They can handle the heavy lifting of data processing. Then, DuckDB WASM is a super fast database that runs directly in the browser using WebAssembly. It lets you run SQL queries on your data. And Apache Arrow? That's the glue that holds it all together. It's a standardized way to represent data in memory, making it easy to pass data between the web workers and DuckDB.
Ah, I get it. So web workers do the initial processing, Apache Arrow formats the data, and DuckDB WASM crunches the numbers with SQL. Sounds like a powerful combo. But the article also talks about performance. How does DuckDB WASM compare to the native version?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? The author ran some benchmarks and found that DuckDB WASM can be about 4x slower than the native version in some cases. But it really depends on the query. For example, when they tested a query with an expensive function, the performance was almost on par.
4x slower? That sounds like a significant hit. Is it worth the trade-off for the convenience of in-browser processing?
Well, the author points out that WASM runs in a virtual machine, which adds overhead. Plus, the single-threaded limitation of DuckDB WASM doesn't help, but they also mention that the experimental COI support might lift that limitation in the future. And remember, it's still incredibly fast compared to other in-browser solutions.
Okay, fair enough. So performance is a bit of a mixed bag. What about memory limitations? The article mentions a 4 GB limit in Chrome.
Yeah, that's a big one. DuckDB is known for being able to handle large datasets, but WASM can't use local persistency for spilling data if it runs out of memory. So, you're limited by the browser's memory constraints. The author notes that this is a known limitation, but they're working on adding support for OPFS, which should improve things.
So you could run into issues with larger datasets or complex joins. Got it. Now the article also dives into schema consistency issues when using web workers and Apache Arrow. What's that all about?
This is where things get a little tricky. When you're using web workers to process data in parallel, each worker might produce an Apache Arrow table with slightly different schemas. For example, one worker might have a field that's null, while another worker has a string in that same field. DuckDB can get picky about these inconsistencies and throw an error when you try to combine the tables.
Ouch! That sounds like a headache to debug. Is there a good way to handle these schema inconsistencies?
The author says there's no simple, generic solution. The C++ Arrow API has a concatenate tables function that can handle some cases, but it's not accessible from JavaScript. Ultimately, you might have to handle the schema reconciliation yourself, or, even better, avoid the problem altogether by ensuring consistent schemas from the start.
Easier said than done, I imagine. So besides performance and schema issues, are there any other gotchas when working with DuckDB WASM?
Absolutely. The author mentions running into some bugs, like querying certain JSON strings or Parquet files causing memory access errors. They also point out that the Node.js DuckDB library isn't as mature as the Python or Java libraries, so you might encounter some unexpected behavior.
Sounds like the bleeding edge of technology. But it's good to know what to watch out for. So, with all these challenges, is DuckDB WASM really worth the effort?
Despite the limitations, the author is optimistic. They believe that DuckDB WASM is still one of the fastest engines for querying data fully in-browser, and they emphasize that the community is active, and the DuckDB team is constantly working on improvements. Plus, many of the extensions are now available in DuckDB WASM, which is a huge win.
Okay, so it's a work in progress, but with a lot of potential. What's the author's final takeaway?
Basically, the author encourages developers to jump in and start experimenting with these technologies. They see it as a terrific opportunity to learn, contribute to the community, and build some really cool in-browser analytics tools. It's all about embracing the challenges and helping to shape the future of this space.
I'm sold. It sounds like a fascinating area to explore. Any final thoughts for our listeners who are interested in learning more?
Definitely check out the article on Motif Analytics Medium blog. The author provides a lot of great insights and practical examples. And of course, dive into the DuckDB, Apache Arrow, and WebWorkers documentation. The links are in the show notes. It's a wild ride, but it's definitely worth it.
Thanks for the deep dive into in-browser analytics. It's been really insightful.
My pleasure. It's a topic I'm really passionate about. And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in to Tech Bytes and News. Until next time, keep exploring and keep innovating. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis.
Bye-bye.